When I was younger, we lived in the apartments on Tallwood Road. Most families there were young couples, with 1 or 2 kids. People treated these apartments as a minor stop before they moved on elsewhere, to better jobs, bigger homes, expanding families. There were woods behind the complex where the kids sometimes hung out. The school bus stop was right outside. There was an older lady in my apartment building, who lived in 1D. She had a chubby face and her graying hair was kept short in an old-fashioned bowl cut. Her apartment was on the ground level and her balcony had a little path to enter the house. Every week she had a private nurse coming in to check on her. Each day, she'd sit in the balcony in her Adirondack chair, watching the kids return from school. Sometimes she'd stop us and ask, "What time is it?" Now this was a strange question, because she always wore a watch herself. If she wanted to know the time, all she had to do was look down. It was an old wind-up watch with a thick leather strap. Once the old lady told me the watch had belonged to her husband. The kids called her Watch Lady. Most of them found her really creepy and never answered her. But I always did. Because my ma told me to. Ma said the old lady probably just wanted to talk. One afternoon, soon after I returned from school, there was a knock on the door. I opened it to find the old lady's nurse. She told me the old lady was missing. I had seen the nurse before in passing, but this was the first time I'd met her face to face. She was dressed in scrubs. But the most disturbing thing about her was the way she spoke. She had a slight smile on her face the whole time she talked to me, as if there was something funny about a missing old lady. Soon the cops were there too. The adults grouped up in 2s and 3s to search. Some of us kids tagged along. We headed to the backwoods, calling for the old lady. That day, I found out her name was Mrs. Goes. The nurse sat in the balcony in Mrs. Goes's chair, just in case the old lady found her way back home. We kept searching for the next few days, but she was nowhere to be found. Life got back to normal in a few weeks. One afternoon, I was home by myself, doing my homework, when I heard knocking on the door. I was shocked to see Mrs. Goes outside. "It was time," she said. She had to get away for a bit. Then she held out her hand and said, "I have something for you." It was the watch. "I want you to have it," said Mrs. Goes. With that, she turned and left. I was a bit nonplussed, to be honest. I wasn't sure if my parents would like me accepting something like this from our neighbor, whom we knew only very slightly. But she left before I could react. I tucked the watch into my drawer. "Watch lady is back," I told my mom when she came from work. "Really?" said Mom, sounding surprised. She was sure Mrs. Goes's apartment was still boarded up. She hadn't seen any lights there either. She went downstairs to knock on Watch Lady's door, but got no response. She returned, mad at me. She thought I was pranking her. I didn't tell her about the watch. About a week after this incident, a body was found in the backwoods by an early morning jogger. It was in such an advanced state of decay that the forensic cops thought it had been out there for a couple of months at least. There were a few ligature marks where the neck had been broken. Using dental records, they identified the body. It was Mrs. Goes. But the question that kept me up at night was this. If she had been dead for that long, how had she appeared at my door a week ago? And how had she given me the watch? It was still there in my bedroom tucked under my socks. They never did to figure out who had killed her. One day, building maintenance came by and cleared out her house. For months afterwards, I dreamed of Watch Lady knocking on my door. She always asked what time it was. When I replied, "It's time," she disappeared. As I've grown older, I've wondered often how Watch Lady died, and how she'd managed to give me the watch. I still have it somewhere. I've realized I will never quite understand what happened those days.